Hey guys, it's Quinn. Today I just wanted to discuss quieting your mind and what that actually is. So, if we can look at humans as, what are we at the base when we take away the body and the mind? So, at the base, we are consciousness, the ability to give and take information. This is at the basis what we actually are. So if you look at the structure of anything, we have atoms. And what are those atoms made out of? Those atoms are composed of atoms. And those tiny atoms are composed out of atoms. And the cycle goes all the way down and all the way up. So it goes smaller, 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 bigger, to basically infinity. The universe is infinitely expanding. That is the nature of a cyclical existence. So, if we look at the universe for what it is, we have essentially a vacuum. It is to be 3D, we essentially need some boundary from which to operate in, and this is like a bubble. It's a vacuum, and in this bubble exists all information and energy, and we are all, well, our bodies and our minds are composed of this information and energy. Our minds and our bodies are not separate at all. They are actually intertwined. Like, you can feel sensation in your hands because your mind is inside of your body. So where I'm getting with this whole vacuum point is that a vacuum has pressure and a suction. A vacuum sucks into itself. One second. So a vacuum is like taking in information. Vacuum is consciousness. It is the ability to suck and to push out information. So this is us, who we are at the base nature. We are able to listen and we are able to speak. So essentially that is the nature of consciousness, to share and to take. So by this we expand. View your mind and body as like a bubble. Okay, and this bubble expands and expands and expands. And, the more information you gather, and eventually, the goal of essentially living is to blow this bubble, this awareness, because the mind and the body, our senses, are also like vacuums. Our eyes, our ears, and our mouth and our nose, these are all holes. They can suck in information. They are little vortexes, little vacuums, and this is how we absorb information. And that is why essentially vortexes form in gravity. It is like an absorption of energy. And basically you can use that energy to do whatever. But what I'm basically getting to is that our senses are vacuums, and this is a product of consciousness. Is these suctioning organs. So when it comes to quieting the mind, what do we do to quiet the mind? So what is the mind? The mind is information that we absorb through these five senses. You can only remember things that you have tasted, smelled, touched, seen, and heard. So these things are running rapid in your mind. So the only way to quiet the mind is essentially to deprive these senses in some way. So in order to do this, what's best, like for meditation is not some prayer to some being like some religious people would think. Meditation is essentially depriving the senses of any kind of stimulation or information, to really. So what you would do is you would go and basically sit in an area where it's not very loud, where it's not bright. Like you kind of want to make sure that maybe you swish some water in your mouth, get the taste out of your mouth, brush your tongue. Go sit down in the dark, and this will change your life. Go sit down in the dark where there's no sound, and simply just focus on your breath. Okay, so you are depriving these senses, and you are focusing on your breath. So why deprive the senses? So essentially, your experience of life is governed by how closely you are associated with it. So if you associate yourself as, like for instance, me, I am Quinn, I am 19, I am, this guy, this tall guy, and I think this big image of myself, and this image makes me very vulnerable. So as soon as someone attacks this image, my emotions are affected, my thoughts are affected, my actions are affected. Maybe I will become aggressive, and this is extremely reactive. So to circle back to the, like, basically sitting down in the dark, this image that you have created of yourself, okay? The mind and the body. So the mind and the body, essentially, they are woven together, and they are connected to consciousness via the breath. So this vacuum in the body, your lungs, it's you have blood pressure. What is the blood pressure caused by? Pressure can only exist where there is a vacuum. So there is a vacuum, an existing vacuum in your body, just like the universe. That is, we are the universe. Our whole body is the universe on a smaller scale. We have a vacuum. We have an axis. We have fluctuations. We have tiny little bacteria living all over us. We are gigantic ecosystems. So what I'm getting at is that when you deprive the senses, okay, this vacuum of mind, this vacuum of consciousness expands. So it's like when you fast, for instance, you heal. So you actually gain energy by emptying yourself. So when you empty the senses, this bubble of information that you are holding so tightly, I'm Quinn, I'm 19, I'm this and that, this bubble of information that you are holding so tightly, it just expands. And you can actually see now these things separately. You can see these things objectively. And this is incredibly important. You should be able to hold the mind and the body in your hand as a tool. You should not be associated with the mind or the body, because this is a huge vulnerability and a huge limitation that you set on yourself. Consciousness is not limited to the mind and the body. So essentially what meditation is expanding that bubble, all that information, so that you can hold it objectively. You can take the pieces that you need and use them when you want to use them. If you do not meditate, that bubble is who you are. It is not dispersed at all. It is right here all the time. And it is constantly moving. And that's why you get overwhelmed. And that's why you don't feel... strong. That's why you don't feel confident. Is because you cannot even see, you cannot even access the info that you do have. And if you can't access the info that you do already have, you will not be able to gain more info because your capacity is already full. The bigger you blow that bubble, the bigger your capacity is. So yeah, to wrap it up, sitting down, meditating in the dark, no sound, no taste, no smell, just relax, focus on the breath, just the breath that is tying you to the body. If you can slow down the breath as much as possible, the mind will begin to slow down, and that bubble, that experience becomes more big, it becomes way bigger, and you are able to perceive so much more. You are creating a gigantic vessel from your mind and your body. And that's about it. So meditate and fix yourself up, or you might end up destroying your life. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.